Libra Sun and Rising, welcome to your August 2022 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, we begin the month in Leo season, and Leo is a friendly angle to Libra. It's your 11th house, and so it's a very social area for a lot of Libra people. You are extroverted, you are somebody who enjoys mingling socially. I know not everyone. I always get, whenever I make those kind of blanket statements, I always get a few people saying, "Oh, I'm an introvert," or "I'm I'm somebody who likes to be alone." So I acknowledge that some of you exist in that way, but for the majority of people, you really do enjoy socializing, and even for those introverts out there, the 11th house is the collective, but it's also technology. So it might be that something through the internet is allowing you to connect to other people in a meaningful way. And because the sun is there, and on the 4th of the month, Mercury, which has been in your sign, goes into Virgo. I mean, I said it's been in your sign. It's been in Leo as well in that 11th house. It goes into the 12th house. And when it's there, it's going to be in this place that is about contemplation. So it's not a social place, it's more of a solitary area. And with Mercury, the mind, if it's not in a disciplined state of being, it can wander, it can think too much, especially about things that are not grounded. The 12th house is the house of past lives, of anything that is, other dimensions. So it's a dream state. So that can mean that there is more maybe dream recall. I don't remember my dreams a lot of times. I don't know how many people have a situation where you might not remember a dream, and then you go out, let's say you go to a store and you just stare at something on a shelf and somehow it triggers. You're like, oh yeah, I had this dream, and that reminded you of, there was some trigger from whatever that object was. I've had that, but I don't typically have a lot of dreams. My partner does, and he tells me about some of these dreams, but um, if you are like me and you don't have them very often, you may find that you are having them more or recalling them more. Mercury is the mundane mind. So that is not I don't know if you call it the super consciousness or what those terms are, but we have the consciousness, which is about connection to source energy. And we could say the higher self and things like that. And then we have the mundane mind, which contains our intellect and the things that processes information in this 3D reality. That's a totally different animal. And it varies from person to person, but in the 12th house, it's trying to make sense of a nonsensical area in terms of what the mundane mind thinks of life, which is that, things that are supposed to be solid, tangible. So, meditation is definitely something that could help with this. A lot of people are always looking for ways to, soothe themselves from anxiety, but sometimes the concepts that come along with those methods can be creating more of the same. Learning how to sit with yourself, and the fight and or flight response occurs because people are reacting, and meditation teaches you not to react. So these kinds of things can be good anytime, but especially now. Um, on the 11th, Venus goes into Leo, and we have a full moon in the opposite sign of Aquarius at 19 degrees. Both of these are compatible with your sign Libra. You have Venus going into that social area, and that can just be great for friendship related matters, harmony, fun. I mean, just pleasurable experiences. But the 11th house is also the house of gains. And this is something that until very recently I didn't really talk about. And this means that your business, your career, this can indicate when these things become fuller, or you're gaining ground with them. I'm talking about financially. Venus is the ruler of the second house of earned income, so that could even, when I see Venus or Jupiter in the 11th house, it's almost like I feel like a person can take their earnings to a new level and do so rather easily, where it's not a struggle. With the moon in Aquarius, we're talking about the 5th house. This is a trine aspect to you, and that is something that is a harmonious aspect, and it might be quite easy for you to manifest what that full moon represents. What could it represent? Well, this is the house of love and creativity. So, full moons can be a time when a person comes to the realization that somebody that they are involved with is somebody that they must be with forever, So you ruled the 7th house of committed partnership. That's the next level. But the 5th house is about love itself. And, you might be married 20 years and have this lull in the action and feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if this person is really the one. Maybe I made the wrong choice. And then something comes about that gives you your answer, and it can make you feel a sense of, I was going to say completion. I don't know how else to put it, where you really know the truth of that situation. And it can go either way. I mean, there might be times when you're seeing somebody and everything looks great on paper, but there's just something about the situation that doesn't sit right with you and you can't figure it out. And you might find out something about them. I mean, full moons can bring out secrets and things like that. But yeah, so could be love. It could be a great time for creativity, but also a lot of fertility. So keep that in mind, that conceiving a child might be very easy right now. Obviously, you have to be in a certain age range to do so. What else? What else? On the 20th, Mars goes into Gemini. I'm going to be discussing this in greater length in a separate video at some point in the near future, because there's a lot to talk about there. But the significance of this transit in August is that for over 7 months, wait a minute, no, is it? Yeah, for over 7 months, Mars is going to be in Gemini, either direct or retrograding. And that is cray-cray. So, for you, this is your 9th house, and this is a general report, Libra. So, for some of you, it might not be here the full time, but it is what it is. That's as much as I can do about that. The 9th house is the house of foreign travel, and Mars is very energetic and physical. So this may involve literally living in another country. But you may find that with the retrograde, there could be some situation that um, limits some of the exploration that you're trying to do. Now, given the current state of affairs, this could have something to do with a government shutdown, with a government shutting down particular countries or parts of a country. So, um, would I say, oh my God, don't go to a foreign country during this period of time? I would never tell anybody to not do anything. I don't think that Mars retrogrades or Mercury retrogrades, when it comes to travel, are going to necessarily doom you. But Mars, it's not so much about travel; it's about vehicles. But other things that you're, kind of trying to put energy into. So, to me, it's more of the ambition side of life. But I might be wrong about that. I mean, I think since it's a personal planet, you do have to give it some import in your life. But in general, I would say use your intuition, especially if you have some kind of opportunity there. You don't want to be closing doors just because of a transit. But do take note of that. I have Mars in my natal chart in the ninth house. And I remember reading a book one time that said that you could have that when you have Mars in the ninth house, and this was for the natal chart, but I feel like it could definitely, apply to anybody who has this transit, that there could be some kind of conflict that you come up against when you are in a foreign country. Um, I think, if you have this in your natal ninth house, I think they were talking about an afflicted Mars. I personally don't have. I don't think my Mars. I think my Mars is well aspected, but whatever. I mean, there's so much fear being generated. I don't want to be a person who generates fear. If you feel called to travel during this time in, the last quarter of 2022, that's your decision. And I'm not going to discourage people from doing what they feel called to do. Obviously, be vigilant and make sure that you're not doing things that are really dangerous and things like that. But other than that, happy trails if you're going to travel. And I will go into more details on that. This is just when it's direct right now. During this month, it's you may have a desire to dive into some kind of spiritual. I think it could be like yoga, something physical, where you're diving into a spiritual practice, or um, it could even be like a fight with the church or a spiritual, like a guru type of person, where you're challenging them in some way. I mean, anything's possible, right? On the 22nd, the sun goes into Virgo. So this is your hibernation time, the month before your solar return. So you might start to feel a little bit more into yourself, not as outgoing. You do have Venus still in the 11th house, so that might counter that a bit. But definitely, if you feel called, I mean, especially since Mars is in the ninth, there might be something going on that has a spiritual connection to it that you're doing or, participating in. And so if that's how it is, then you can go for it if you feel called to do so. On the 25th, Mercury goes into Libra, goes into your sign. That can make you feel like you're on some kind of higher, well, I was going to say higher ground. That's not really the right way of putting it. But you might feel like you're coming into yourself again, because when Mercury is in your sign in the first house, it allows you to convey your ideas in a much more unified way. Um, Sometimes there might be a scattering of forces, I feel, when it's in the 12th house, because your mind is being asked to operate in an abstract way rather than a straightforward way. And on the 27th, we have a new moon in that 12th house of 4 degrees of Virgo. So that might be a situation where you are um, beginning something of a spiritual nature. Maybe it's a retreat that you're taking where you've never been to, or a book that you're reading, or a teacher that, or a center that you're going to. But honoring that 12th house new moon, planting seeds of intention as it pertains to spiritual matters, but even future matters in general. This is the womb of creation. When you have a new moon in the first house, then it starts that whole process all over again. And you can really look for it in a tangible way. Now can be the dream time. I talked about the 12th house as a dream state, but even your daydreaming, dream big and dream vividly about what it is that you want to attract into your reality. Okay, that's what I have for you, Libra. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a personal reading from me, I am promoting my double readings. They are financially a great deal because they're 2 full-length readings. At least 1 hour of chart analysis and 1 hour of transits for the next 12 months. Like I tried to explain during the reading, this is a general reading that I'm doing on YouTube. Everybody has a different chart, and so the exact times when these transits are occurring will differ from Libra person to Libra person, sun or rising. So, and also just, I think even more importantly, the chart analysis is really great to give you things to think about in terms of patterns that you may have, self-defeating patterns, and also other types of talents that you have that you may feel like, oh, I'm not really that good or whatever. People talk themselves out of things all the time. And, today I was at the farmer's market for the first time, and someone asked me, I was shucking corn. Somebody asked me, and she was a middle-aged woman, she wasn't a spring chicken. She said to me, how do you know, what are you looking for when you, take off those husks? Or she said something like that. And this other woman was next to me and she was trying to articulate it. And I just said very simply, just to see if the animals have eaten it and stuff like that. And then I said to her, because I have the moon in Virgo, so I have to always, elaborate. And I said, and then I said, look at this corn. And there was like this corn cob that had been husked. And I was trying to figure out why the person didn't take it. It looked perfect. The kernels were all there, yada, yada. But I noticed that, and I was demonstrating, when you prick the corn and it doesn't squirt out, then it means that it's not, fresh or juicy or what have you. And she was like, oh, that's too much. Like, she couldn't handle all that information. And she was trying to better her diet by eating, fresh produce, but she gave up so quickly. And I said to her, I said, just get a couple of ears. I said, you got to experiment. It's like, this is one of the reasons why people get in those kind of mental ruts, because they are afraid to try new things, as if the world's going to crash down to the ground if you get a couple of husks and they have like a little bit of, stuff at the top. I said, you don't even have to husk it. You can just take it. It's not going to, I said, you have to experiment, and she did, because she knew what I meant, I think. I think she knew what I meant. And I noticed people like giving up before they even started. So I think that the chart is a great indicator of, or validator for talents that are maybe on the back burner or dormant. Um, when I was going to do this type of work, I looked at my chart and I saw some things, a couple of things that validated it and made me like sure that I was doing the right thing. The pull of the world of the matrix is really big. So, that's my intention when I do readings, not being a fortune teller. Even when I do transits, it's really about working with the transits, whether, rather than, oh, they're going to do this for me or that for me. So, anyway, that's my approach. But you can find out more information about my readings at the link below. Thank you for listening, Libra, and have a great month. Bye.